Snapshot 24W44A brought us Data Pack version 58 and Resource Pack version 43, with a new version of the attribute command, new options for text display, and more. My name is Slime and this is a showcase of the changes. Let's start with commands. The attribute command has a new form, base reset. This new form will reset the base value of that attribute to its default value on the target entity. If the attribute does not apply to that entity, the command fails. In addition, suggestions are now shown for the IDs of existing attribute modifiers when typing an attribute command. Several cases where set block and similar commands would not properly set the states of some blocks have been fixed. Setting the time of day with a command now happens instantly instead of being delayed. And execute on origin now works for area effect clouds even when they have been saved and reloaded. If you ran the title command with a long duration, the same title would show up in a different world. That is fixed in this version. And speaking of titles, there are some news for text components in this version. Large, bold characters no longer have gaps in them when rendered, and there's a new style field called shadow color. This field is either a packed integer ARGB value or an array of RGBA values. If you specify 0, the shadow is never displayed for that text. Otherwise, the shadow will always be displayed with that color. Let's talk about some entity and data changes, starting with TNT minecarts. The TNT fuse field has now been renamed to lowercase fuse, just like for primed TNT entities. And there's a new field called explosion speed factor, which controls how much of speed dependence explosion power is added. The default value is 1. You can now once again use an empty object as data for the offers field for a villager or wandering trader to disable their trades entirely. And arrows summoned with custom motion data now render correctly. If you set the shadow radius field for a display entity, it now changes the size for that display entity and not also all other display entities. And a couple of creaking fixes. They now work properly on teams, ignoring the gaze of players on their own team and not attacking them. In item component news, blocks in item form with the block entity data component now only set that data if the ID field is the correct type of block. Blocks like signs with the data in that component, which would lead to command execution, now also show a warning tooltip. Decorated pots now have the contents component by default, which means pick block now also works properly on them. And items with the consumable component animation set to blocking now work properly in the first-person view. In particle news, the trail particle now has a new required field, duration, which specifies how long the particle should take to move from the start to the target measured in ticks. And there's a new particle type in this version, pale oak leaves. In custom world news, the simple block feature type now has a new optional field, schedule tick. This is a boolean, and if set to true, the block will be ticked once when the chunk has generated. Biome effects for music now has a new format with weights for how common individual tracks are, and you can now also specify music volume. A bug has been fixed with the dimensional padding on jigsaw structures, which now also applies to the start piece. In Resource Pack news, in addition to the new blocks and items for the winter drop content, toasts and advancement boxes now use standard sprite 9-slice scaling. Empty slot sprites have been renamed and moved from items into a new slot folder, and their functionality has been unified for all the screens. Slots for the brewing stand, loom, horse, and llama inventory screens have also been split from the container background image and now exist as separate sprites. A bug with how the left and right regions of 9-sliced sprites were handled has been fixed. And finally, the Magma Cube UV mapping has been changed to no longer overlap the same pixel in several areas. And that's all for these pack versions. Thank you for watching. My name is Slime, and I'll see you next time.